All right, now also in 4.2, we do a problem where I give you some information about a linear function, and then I ask you to give me the equation. So I have a note here. Remember, y, the symbol y, and then the symbol f of x, those represent the same thing. Both of them are outputs, right? I have my f machine, in goes x, out comes y, or f of x. So they represent the same thing, and we're going to use this to help make equations of functions. All right, so here's my setup. Find the linear function with the given properties. A, we're going to do that f at -2 is 2, and the slope of f is 7. All right, so what this means, so students see this and they forget, right, that this doesn't mean multiplication. This means if you set x equal, -2. If you set x equal to -2, then y equals 2. In goes x, out comes y. So in goes -2, out comes +2. And remember, if you are in, out, so my input, output, that's a point on my graph. Okay, but what does it mean to be on the graph? That means you're a solution and you make the equation true, right? That triangle that I drew back when we were doing linear equation stuff. All right, so I have that the slope is 7, and then I also have that the point -2, 2 is on the graph. Okay, so I know that my f of x has to look like this. It has to look like mx plus b because it's a linear function. You're told that at the beginning that it's linear, so it has to look something like that. Since we have the slope, we have m. Okay. So the slope is 7. That was a given. So we get to plug this in. So what we need is we need to find b. And how we're going to do that is we're going to use the fact that -2, 2 is on the graph in order to solve for b. Okay, so we also know that f at -2 is, so that's just plugging in -2, right? So 7 times -2 plus b, that's plugging in -2, and that has to equal 2. So this part comes from plugging in -2. This part comes from given information. The fact that when x equals -2, y comes out. All right, so now the only thing left is b, and we can solve for b. So you have -14 plus b is 2, or that b is 16. So that means that f of x is 7x plus 16. As your solution. Now, if it helps you, you could always do this as y equals mx plus b. Here's your x, here's your y, solve for b. Just make sure you use f of x notation. All right. Let's try one more like that. So B. B. Let's do something other than F. Let's do G. So G of 6 equals 4, and the slope of G is 1/3. So this is one that I'm making up. It's like the one we just did. Okay. So same thing. I know that it's linear, so it has to look like mx plus b. Has to look like that. Since the slope is 1/3, we know that we have g of x is 1/3 x plus b. And if x equals 6, then g equals 4. Now, maybe one way you want to write this instead is maybe this helps. Instead of thinking of, x and g of x, think of it as just x and y's. The input is 6, the output is 4. So that's my xy. So the input, remember we can always write this as y equals 1/3 x plus b because g of x and y are the same thing. So x is x is 6. Y is 4. So you have this equation to solve. Okay. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. And B is 2. So your solution is g of x is 1/3 x plus 2. All right, so this problem type, the big thing is knowing about slope and then being able to understand that this syntax, this g parenthesis 6 equal 4, that means that xy, an xy pair on the graph is 6, 4.